Hello and welcome to the Strong Story Show. I'm Harris, and if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm very excited for this episode. I think you will love the information that we share. If you've been here for a while, if you've heard any of the last 29 episodes, you may notice a difference, and that is in the name of the show. For the past few months, I've been titling the show The Coach Harris Show. You know, pretty basic, pretty standard, but I decided that I need something more. I want the title of the show to represent what we talk about, and that always turns out to be strong stories. With whoever I'm interviewing, whether it's just me on the episode or an amazing guest, we're talking about the stories in their life that have gotten them to where they are. From a weaker, lower point, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it is, to a stronger way of living. The strong stories is where all of this show is based from, and that's why I changed the title. So again, if you're new here, welcome. Today we're talking with Jen Hatz. I'm very excited because Jen is an awesome person to know. She is a performance and wellness dietitian working primarily with football athletes. She helps these athletes not only get their mind and bodies right in season, in training, but for years to come. A common problem with people in the competitive athletic space is that after their sport days are over, they may not know what to do with their training, with their nutrition, with their sleep, and they tend to lose a sense of their identity because a lot of amazing athletes revolve their entire lives around their sport. So Jen specializes in this. She helps people find ways to keep their mental and physical health strong forever, right? Today, we're going to touch on a lot of things. I have a lot of nuggets for you that you can not only learn and be interested by, but take action with. I want this to be very actionable for you. We talk about consistency, daily habits, tracking physical and mental metrics, and more. All right. So there's going to be a lot of amazing information. But first, as far as Jen, if you want to know anything more about her, the work that she does, if you want to work with her or read her content, go to jenhatz.com. Okay. The second thing is that all of this information is going to be summarized in the show notes on my website. I have a brand new website just launched. It's coachedbyharris.com. Wherever you're listening to this, you can look below, get to that website, and there's a specific page for this episode. All right. There's going to be the audio player, some videos about Jen, her website, and any links that we reference. So I highly encourage you to go to the website because that is going to be the home for this episode. All right. Last but not least, you'll notice on my new website a 7-day free trial of Family Strength Coaching. If you want to check that out, there are no strings attached, okay? Family Strength Coaching basically means that for 7 days, I will be here for any questions that you have regarding strength, nutrition, mental, consistency, all of that stuff, right? We can talk through it, get a plan moving forward. The family aspect simply means that if you have any family members or people in your close circle that want help as well, I'd be happy to talk them through something in addition to yourself, okay? Without further ado, here's the episode with Jen Hatz. Enjoy. Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. Welcome to the show. I'm buzzing on some coffee, just went for a run, listened to some ridiculously heavy metal music. So my energy, you're going to have to bring me back into the earth a little bit.
I love it.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming on. So for anyone listening, we got connected pretty quickly by my best friend and your brother, Nate. Nate was on episode, I believe, 15 of the show, and he was my college roommate for a few years. So we shared some good stories, connected us, and said that we would get along really well and definitely be able to riff on some things, fitness, strength, performance, and we'll see what else comes up. So I'm excited to have you on. I know we have a lot of good stuff today, and I wanted to start off with a very simple question for you. Knowing what you know, what do you think the listeners are going to be able to actionably take away from this episode today?
Awesome. Well, thank you for the little introduction there.
Absolutely.
So I would say the biggest thing, especially when people learn that I'm a dietitian, they want some sort of immediate advice, something that is a one size fits all. What's the one thing I need to work on? And the biggest thing that I stress is that there is no answer to that. It completely depends, and it's constantly adapting, and you are constantly adapting. So your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, how you take care of yourself, knowing and understanding that there is no one size, there is no one answer to this, that you have to be comfortable going through experimenting, going through, learning about yourself, how to take care of yourself, and that it's an evolving process. So the biggest thing that I tell someone when they ask me that kind of question of what can I do to eat well, to do whatever, I just say, hey man, you got to just start talking to me every day. There's no way to go about it. It's something that is an ongoing evolution of learning about yourself and just having fun with it and enjoying the process.
We use coaches, we use videos, articles, all these resources to kind of push us in a clearer direction, but we're still going to go back and forth between our best route, right? It's not going to be the same route for everybody. So what you're doing for, with your clients and your students is amazing, because you're really teaching them to have that self-awareness, it seems, to be able to trust themselves, to figure out their own route, but also learn a little bit faster with your help, right?
Exactly. And honestly, the idea of wanting a clear, concise answer, we all want to have some type of certainty. I love the mug that you're drinking out of.
If you're only listening, this is a Santa Claus mug, and it's May right now. I have no rules with Christmas. I'm Jewish, so I just do what I want.
I'm Jewish.
Yeah, both of us.
But yeah, so like everyone, they want a good answer. They want a good path. Like you said, they want some sort of something concrete that they can then work on. But that's because we tend to feel this uncomfortable feeling when there's something that's uncertain, and we want that certainty. So we want to know that if I do X, Y, Z, it's going to get me these results. And it's focused on the outcome and not on the actual journey itself, not on what you're actually going through. And life itself, like everything about what you're doing every single day, should be this learning process and a growing process. So when I view something, I'm viewing both the human body and what the human body does and what we can do to help it do more. But that's all a human body, and that's a human doing. But you're also a human being. Mm-hmm. So that psychology element, it takes it takes what we do and puts it into a broader perspective. So that's why I'll always go back to that answer of it depends, because there's a whole lot of other factors that carry over into how we work and adapt and overcome. And that's really the goal, essentially, right? And so instead of focusing on the outcome and the expectations that we have on an outcome, it's on the process itself. And so my role of the changes that I want to make specifically with the athletes I work with is helping them understand that what they do day in and day out is not their identity. That attaching themselves to what they do, attaching themselves to the outcome and the expectations of the outcome, that neglects their true self. And when they're no longer an athlete, they no longer have a sense of self. They lose their identity because they attached everything they did to everything about them to what they did and to the outcomes that they wanted to reach. And if God forbid you don't hit the outcome that you're looking for, you lose your sense of strength, you lose your sense of stability. So being able to help them achieve the goals that they want while also building up their actual relationship with themselves and their own identity with themselves, because in the end, you cannot control the outcome. And especially athletes, they have a whole bunch, probably the highest level of expectation is placed on this small subset of the population. And we, as a fan of a sport, they get mad at the athlete for not giving the result that we want, but they're human beings. And so allowing these athletes to see themselves that, yes, I have these skills and abilities, but I can't control necessarily the outcome of what I'm doing every day, that I have to have a strong sense of self and a strong identity that I am a human being. And that way it not only helps them perform well now while they're athletes, but then when they're no longer athletes, they can still be a normal human being that can still perform well and still meet expectations and meet goals. But now they have a stronger base, a stronger sense of self. So it's tying together the human body element and preparing the body to perform well, but taking in that human being element so that you can actually be well in the moment.
I like the emphasis you placed on doing versus being,
Yes.
Like they're very, you have to see those things for what they are. And I also, honestly, this is kind of a new way to look at it for myself. So I'm definitely learning a lot already, because I always am thinking in the realm of the people that I'm working with, and that's typically not competitive athletes. I tend to call everybody athletes, right? In terms of they can have an athletic body and do athletic things, but being a competitive athlete is a whole different thing. And, I think while we never can control the outcome, I think people that are just trying to lose fat or gain muscle or get stronger physically or enhance certain habits in their life have more of a sense of control of the outcome than an athlete. Because an athlete, like you said, has all these variables with teammates and competitors and other things. So I think that's a really good point. I'd love to just kind of stick on the idea of how your athletes, after they play their sport, need to have that strong sense of self, because in your words, right, people tend to lose themselves after their sport if they're not properly working on that. And I've trained athletes before, people that were former high school athletes, college athletes. Now they're just, quote, regular mom, dads, working jobs. They're doing their life, and they have a hard time getting back into the strength and fitness sense because they always associate all of this stuff with old habits. Like I tell them, okay, you're a new person now. Let's start from where you're at. But they're used to these strict nutrition protocols or crazy training protocols from their sport days. And I think what you said of like having to really understand yourself is so relevant. Anything else you can touch on with that?
Yeah, you nailed it on that one. And that's actually probably the biggest reason why I found my niche of working with football and working with athletes and working in this well-rounded perspective with working with athletes, because there is such a rapid decline in their mental health when they are no longer an athlete. And especially, at least in football, everyone is treated as part of the team. So you lose your individuality. And it's kind of a one-size-fits-all approach with any of the coaching, any of the resources, whatever they have access to. And so, like I said, you kind of lose your sense of self and your identity then when you are no longer playing in your sport. You're no longer associated with the team. And so that's a huge barrier to break through when they are no longer part of that sport, when they're no longer part of the team. Now they have to discover who they are as an individual. And this also carries over into the general population. So even non-athletes, what you do, oftentimes we associate ourselves so strongly with what we do that if, say, for instance, last year during COVID or during, the lockdowns because of COVID, when everyone was now forced to stay at home, so you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't go to work, a lot of people were laid off, and a lot of people lost themselves. They had nothing that they felt gave them joy, like no reason, no motivation day in, day out to actually do anything or to feel comfortable with themselves. And it's because they attached everything about their identity to what they did day in, day out. So then when they were met with some type of adversity, some type of challenge, which that's inevitable, you're going to hit challenges throughout your life. And your ability to be resilient against those challenges, it depends on coming from the inside out, having a strong sense of self and a strong stability with yourself and who you are, so that any challenge that comes your way, you can navigate it effectively and you can get the outcome, not necessarily the outcome, but you can get better and grow because of the challenge, not necessarily that the challenge itself was breaking you down.
I mean, you touched a few things there that I've really been thinking about this entire week. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the idea of whatever it is that we're trying to do, right? Whether it's a fitness endeavor or a sport endeavor, work, anything, coming at it from an angle of building resiliency against the worst scenario, I think is so much more stable than just kind of like slipping and sliding around to find an easier route or a quicker route, because with all this stuff, whether it's with your athletes or with the people that I try to help get stronger and whatever they want to, right? We can always look for that quick answer. We can look for that quick result. We can be attached to our team, our community so much. But if we don't have the foundation set to where if any of that breaks, if we lose our team, if we stop playing the sport, if our habits have to get broken up, we don't feel broken and lost and lonely. We feel like we can be okay with ourselves, be good, keep building, rebuild, Exactly. And I think it's just the more everybody can understand that should always be the underlying solid factor is super important. Like you can you can still play sports, you can do all this competitive stuff, whatever outcome goals you want to have is totally fine, but not at the expense of your ability to be good with things going kind of chaos mode, right? And changing.
Yep.
So,
yep.
I like
And
that.
that's where working on like strength, I would say, is your foundation for that resiliency. So practicing how you get stronger physically, how you get stronger mentally, and how you get stronger from either a faith or a trust aspect, but focusing on day in, day out, building your base of strength, that's what sets you up for being resilient in those changing times and those challenges.
So lately I've been really working to redefine how I define what I do and who I like to help, And I think this is a little bit of a side topic, but I think it's an interesting debate with any career, right? How you should name yourself, if you should go small or big.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, if you work with fitness, just call yourself a trainer. It's always trainer, keep it simple, and then do what you do. But I've been liking the idea of, having a little bit more of a unique title, because I think it helps certain people connect a little bit quicker, and then you can serve them the way that you want, right? So what I've been doing lately is, instead of saying, oh, I'm just a personal trainer or an online fitness coach, I've been sticking with the strength coach specifically.
Yes.
And there's some even other words that I've been experimenting with, but the strength part I think is so much more relevant to me, and maybe to what you just said, because strength is so much more than, again, how much you lift, and even fitness is so much more than how you look. It's just, we don't typically look at it that way. So I think strength, what I like to do with people, what I'm sure you work on with your athletes, is, yes, get physically strong, be athletic, be able to do a lot with your body and handle against the worst circumstances. Like in football, people hitting you from weird angles, people on unstable conditions. You have to be strong and stable physically, but also strong mentally, strong emotionally, have trust in yourself. That's all strength, and being kind of like bulletproof, so to speak. When shit goes wrong, you have to have that strength foundation. So I love that you're really pushing that with the people you're trying to serve, because it's just, it's paramount to, succeeding in anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's almost a stigma around the word strength, because it really does translate into everything else that you do in life. So really it's up to individuals like us to help break that stigma and to help educate people that strength is not what you used to think it was. Fun little story for you. Just the other day, I was at the gym and there was an older gentleman there, probably, I don't know, maybe like an older middle age. We'll say he's a boomer. We'll call him a boomer. And he comes up to me at the gym and he's like, are you still in school? I'm like, no, I'm not in school anymore. He's like, oh, everyone here is so young. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's a good, shift in society, I guess, a good trend that we have going on. And he looks at me and he goes, but you're so young and fit, you don't have to be here. And I'm like, well, no, I'm young and fit because I'm here working out. And it was this idea that there's like this negative view of working on strength. Like there's like for some reason, I don't know if it's just a generational thing or if it is just different populations within the world that view it one way or the other. But at least like this perspective that he gave me, I'm like, I didn't realize that other people don't view strength the way that I view it, that me working on my strength day in, day out is helping me to get better in other areas of life. Whereas other people view it as like, it's only when you're sick or old or something is happening that then you work on getting stronger. So maybe it's more of a proactive approach to trying to implement some type of strength building. Like I said, body, mind, spiritual, whatever type of strength building you're working on, but that it's kind of up to us to help change that perspective of it, that it should be something that you automatically do because that's what you need to get out of your daily life.
Oh, wow. That's a really good story. I like that's, and I've heard things like that so many times, and sometimes people, it's kind of just like a joke but even if it's a joke, it's something that you and I would never even say, because it's just not in our head. So I think the underlying issue that you're talking about is still there with a lot of people. And some people, unfortunately, it might be too late to break that with some people in certain generations, because it's been a lifelong thing, but we can do our best to help people really start to make that shift mentally. And I like that too. So to kind of mold what you just said about that gentleman and then the story earlier, I know you said it's potentially problematic to identify fully with what we do every day, right? And you have to be able to separate yourself. But I guess in a counter way, like in maybe a more positive way, I like to also say you can do things just to be that type of person. What I mean is, like that gentleman said, oh, why do you have to be here? You're already fit. And your response was, you're, kind of the opposite. It's like, you're there, you're fit because you're there all the time.
Yep.
And what I like to work on with myself and people is like, if we want a change in not just the outcome, right, in that moment in time, but to feel like a different actual person, you just do those things, and that's who you're going to become. Not to fully identify with it in the way you were saying, you should be able to detach and have your own self. But again, if someone wants to get strong, if they want to get fit, if they want to be confident, have self-awareness, self-assurance, you just practice those things in every micro moment that you can find. Like whether it's in your schedule or not, you have to uncomfortably make those things happen, and you're going to become that person. Like that's why we always, you as well, we talk about consistency with training and with certain habits. And the word, I think, is kind of a buzzword now. It's like consistency, motivation. Everyone goes over some people's heads. But consistency is, to me, just doing shit that you want to do to be the person you want to be, right? Like if someone isn't confident and they hate themselves and they want to feel confident, you either can do things that will make you more confident each day, trust yourself, make commitments, keep those commitments with people, right? You start to feel a sense of confidence, or you could miss those opportunities and go backwards. And that's someone's choice. But my point is that what we do every day can determine kind of who we become, and we have that control. So when we can focus on that process, like you said, and just do the things, go to the gym, even if you're fit already, you can become fitter, stronger, more confident. Then it's not like, oh, I'm getting to this place and then I'm done. It's, I just keep doing this stuff because this is who I am. And I want to be a person who goes to the gym, a person who trains, a person who takes care of their mental health. Right. So I think that perspective is a cool one as well.
You said the key word there at one point too, habits. So that is like the biggest part of any type of behavioral change process. It's you're implementing habits, and by actively taking part of these habits every day, you start to rewire how you view things. It's a neuroplasticity. So it's rewiring the thought process in your head, because now you're doing things and you start to feel a certain way about those things. So you build an association. That association, you start to build a relationship, a positive relationship with whatever it is you're doing. And that changes your perspective of things. So for a lot of people, it's so hard for them to just get started working out because it hurts them. And they have this negative association with it because they feel tired or weak or painful or whatever it is. And they view it so negatively. But when you build that habit day in, day out of just doing it, you start to feel better about it. You start to feel stronger, and it starts to feel easier, and you start to gain that confidence. So now you're building that association, a positive association with working out. And all of a sudden your view of working out changes, and it becomes something that you look forward to, and you build that much more of a positive relationship with it. But you don't start off with that positive relationship. You had to build it from your habits day in, day out. So it's very cool that our perspective of things can change, that you have this, like I said, it's neuroplasticity. So it's how your brain processes things, how your thought process occurs. And you can change that based on what you do and the actions that you take. So you don't necessarily have to have the motivation on the front end. You can end up getting that much more motivated because you've built that positive association from your day-to-day habits. So yeah, habits and consistency with the habits.
I like what you said about everything. And one thing you mentioned, right? When people start working out, they feel that pain and they have that resistance, and that's usually a barrier of if they keep going or not. And another thing I've been thinking of, I can't stop thinking, but I like to think about two things particularly, which are fear and pain. And most people's, if this is the right word, relationship with those things. I think, yes, we can, kind of tell ourselves that the pain will be over soon and it's going to get easier because we practice, and we're going to be less scared because. But my challenge for some people is, what if instead of doing those things and say, okay, the pain's going to go away soon, just keep pushing through, what if we look at fear and pain and flip our view of it 180 degrees and say those are actually good things, right? Because, the reason I'm thinking of this is because there's been a couple situations with me recently where I've learned something from someone else, And their perspective was not just like, oh, a little unique, you know, sometimes we learn something different. It was 180 from what I would have ever guessed for this situation. And that made me rethink everything. You know, I said, okay, when people are struggling with anything, yes, you can just know it's going to get better soon. You're going to get better. You're going to learn. But what if instead of you hating that moment and just focusing on it when it gets better, you start to love that pain? You are happy about being scared. Like these weird mental thoughts. And it sounds kind of messed up and no one thinks that's normal. Who cares? But like what I tell some people is, yeah, pain will in some ways get better as you learn to exercise, as you train. But what if you look for that pain? And I'm not talking about, you know, physical injuries, of course, but like sometimes I go to the gym and I don't know what to do in that situation. I just say, I'm going to go pick something I like and do it until I am in a lot of, again, healthy pain. Like I hate my life in that moment, and just keep going until I say I've conquered that. And then I'm a different person when I leave.
Yes.
So I'm sometimes, and I don't want to get too off topic, but I'm not even going based on the reps or the weight or the program in that moment. I'm saying, where is that pain threshold that I really want to stop? I'm going to get past that so I conquer it. And now the rest of my day, I'm doing that with other things. So if we can start to like pain in that sense, if instead of saying, oh, I'm scared of this, I shouldn't do it, you say, oh, I'm scared of this, I'm still going to do it. Like you're always going to be scared of stuff. That's not ever going to stop, but that shouldn't get in the way of doing good things, you know? So my kind of summary for what you were saying is like, I think it's worth it to try and flip things completely around sometimes and challenge ourselves to just look at stuff different. There's, you know, Jocko Willink by chance?
I don't think so.
I'm going to butcher his title, so I won't even, he was a Navy SEAL, like a commander of the Navy SEAL Team 6 for a long time. He's a complete badass. I'll have to link this video in the show notes, but he has a video on YouTube that has like 20 million views and it's 2 minutes long. It's pretty funny. It's called Good. And it's badass, you know, it's made in this intense way, but he just reads all these stories from his podcast listeners where they're struggling with this. They lost a job, they even harder things, you know, they lost a loved one, they are struggling with their body, all these things. And he just goes, good. Like that's part of your story. That's going to get you to the next place, you know? And I think, and it's not always that easy to do it, but it shouldn't be easy, right? It's worth pushing to have that new mindset. But I think our whole talk today seems to be in the realm of how we view a lot of this stuff and our perspectives, you know, and if our mindset can be completely changed with some things, I think that could instantly make us get through hard stuff in a better way.
No, and actually, I love the fact that you talked about pain and fear and a lot of people don't understand that you have control over how you view fear. So fear is it's your reaction to, it's basically your perception that you can predict the future and that there's some type of negative consequence, and it's your reaction to it. But if you just accept the fact that you can't predict anything, you can't predict the future, you can't predict that a negative outcome happens. So your fear, it's kind of this like false sense of reality. It's you feeling something based on this idea that you can predict the future, and you can't. So if you're afraid of, oh, well, what if this happens? Well, what if it doesn't happen? Right? If you're afraid that what if this hurts? What if it doesn't hurt? So it could be as simple as just accepting the fact that I'm afraid because I'm trying to predict a negative outcome. And that if you flip that around, what if I predict a positive outcome? Now the fear kind of relaxes and you feel a little more excited to take on a challenge because you're allowing yourself to predict a positive outcome instead.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I love that topic so much. I mean, I've learned to really, I don't like, you know, when people are really pushing the words like be fearless and I'm not scared of anything. And because I think because that stuff, maybe it's meant well by some people, you know, it's trying to be motivational, but I think that really excludes a lot of people, or what's the word I'm looking for, where it makes people feel like they can't relate. Yeah, right. Like even though it can be motivational to say, you know, don't fear anything, be confident all the time, that's never, ever going to happen.
Yes. Like, it makes you feel bad if you do have fear then, because you're like, well, I'm afraid of this. So clearly that doesn't apply to me.
Instead, what I get super motivated by is when I see people that are really strong, make a lot of money, have amazing families, they're really kind, they do all these awesome things, and they say, I'm scared all the time. I doubt myself every day. I'm super nervous of this, but they still do the stuff.
Yep.
So then it makes me say, oh, it doesn't matter how I feel. I can feel all these crappy emotions, but I'm just going to do the thing anyways.
Yes.
And again, back to our topic of, we are in, like you said, we are in 100% control of how we look at things. Sometimes we'll be so beat down, we'll be so scared, so nervous that we don't think we're in control, because I talk to some people that are going through a lot of stuff, and they're like, but trust me, in this moment, there's no way I can change my mindset. It's impossible. And I see it in their eyes. They're like, I can't change it. Just stop talking to me. Stop trying to help. It's over. And I go, no, you're 100% in control. You have to own up to that. It's going to be even harder because of X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
But where we can always, flip fear. We can flip all these things.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right. So I'm looking at my notes. I was stalking your website per usual. That's what I like to do with people. You have a saying on your website. You tell people that you will help them bring everything together, right?
Yes. Yep.
Can you phrase it more eloquently than I did?
So a big part of what I do, I explained a little earlier how I take the human body and combine it with the human being. So what I'm doing quite literally with my business is assessing the human body day in, day out. So that could be taking a look at what you're eating, how you're working out, how you're responding to how you're working out, sleep tracking, getting ideas about your body and the state that your body is in physically and physiologically. And then factoring in, like I said, the human being element. So actually talking with you and getting an idea of where you're at mentally day in, day out. So if I'm tracking your sleep, for instance, and I see, hey, he didn't sleep really well last night at all, I can't go just off of that, just off of what your body is physiologically telling me. I have to also ask you some questions about, hey, so, what's going on with your sleep? How are you handling things? And it could be something that we can easily fix, like in the room, or it could be that there's something psychologically on your mind that is disrupting your sleep. So the way that we would then adapt your coaching is going to be the combination of looking at how your body is responding to what you're doing day in, day out, and how you mentally are responding day in, day out. So you're looking at basically stressors physically on the body and stressors mentally in the mind. And we're finding ways to adapt the coaching day in, day out to you, so that each day you're able to grow and adapt and overcome to whatever the stressor that's being placed on you.
I have a couple of selfish questions about that, because I'm fascinated by the details of how you do this for my own coaching. And I always like to see how people approach this. So can you, as detailed as you're willing to go, explain what that daily, and I'm more interested in the daily part, like how it's very consistent in that aspect, how you go about tracking this? I mean, is it only when you work with people in person? Do you do this with online, athletes? Is it through pen and paper, software? What's your approach?
Kind of a combination of everything. It's easier when it's in person. So when I was working with a team and I saw that team every single day, it's that much easier to check in with them every single day and see where they're at. But I'm currently working for more of a remote consulting model. So being able to use technology to my advantage, and things like I'm a big fan of the Fitbit. I know it's not the smartwatch that everyone thinks of immediately, but it tracks so much that I can get a great idea of where you're at physically and physiologically, just looking at the data report every day from your Fitbit. And then having a check-in, it could just be some type of a email or text exchange, some type of a check-in to see where you're at mentally. But that way we're combining all those pieces. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of an adapting approach where it's however best we can gather this insight and communication. So it's a work in progress right now, but like I said, I'm working all remotely right now. So the beautiful thing is I can have access to anyone across the country, across the world, really. But then it's a daily check-in and trying to use whatever technology we have to our advantage so that we can gather data without you having to do anything. Because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to be writing stuff down every single day. I'd rather just have something, like I said, with a Fitbit, it's just attached to your wrist anyway. So it's collecting data on you that I can then look at and interpret. You don't have to do anything. because no one wants to have to write anything down all day long.
That's obviously something I look to do with my people as well in different ways, in different metrics, but the tracking consistently. And, some of that with who I work with is always going to have to be written because, part of it is from a mental standpoint. And I'm sure same with you as well. You want to see where people are at with the way they're thinking, but that's very interesting that you use that technology in that way because it, it just takes some of the work out from the person, but it still gives you the same details. And I would love to even know more details, but I won't riff on this too much right now because you said it's a work in progress. I know we can go off on a tangent, but that is really interesting. And I like just a quick note on the idea of doing anything daily. I'm just such a big believer in that, whether it's a tracking in some way, whether it's performing a certain habit, whether it's, aware of something. Every day is, in my opinion, the best frequency to focus on any kind of habit. What I like to do is, like some people say, oh, it's doing something every day is whatever it is, whatever the habit is. Doing that X every day is too much, or it's going to be too intense. But what I like to do is mold the habit so it works out in an everyday fashion, because at least my brain, just me, only works in that sense, right? We wake up, we go to sleep. We wake up, we go to sleep. If something is twice a week and then 4 times a week on this habit and then 3 times a week, I think people give themselves an out sometimes when it's that case, because you can say, oh, I just have to get it done 3 times this week so I can do it tomorrow. And then something comes up. Let me just squeeze it in at the end of the week. But when it's every day, it's non-negotiable. It's like, this is what I do. This is who I am. I track this. I take care of this. I go to the gym, even if you have to reduce the intensity or the duration of whatever you're working on. So I like the daily aspect a lot.
I like that. And plus by having that goal of adding in a habit every day, you are going to build consistency with it that much sooner, because you're being exposed to it that much more in a shorter period of time. Whereas if you are stretching it out to 2 or 3 times a week, it's going to take that much longer across the span of time to get enough exposure to it that you take it on and it becomes more consistent.
For anyone that might be listening and want to pick something up every day, but still is stuck in that mindset of, oh, but it's just too much or it's too intense. Because with training, at least, we've always been told, which is absolutely true, you need to recover fully. You shouldn't be training every single day. There's all these parameters, but it depends. Like we started talking about, if you're going to be doing powerlifting or extremely intense football training and high intensity intervals, getting hit by people in football or beating your body up in the gym, you probably don't want to do that every single day, most people. But like what I'll do with my clients is I'll create their strength template. So let's say it's, an everyday person, they have kids, they have a job, 3 to 4 days a week of strength training, right? 30 to 40 minutes. If that's what fits them, I'll plan that out. And then I fill in the other days with anything. I mean, it's going to be custom to them, but 10 minutes, something that's not going to take recovery away from the other days, something that is feasible for them. It could literally be go in the basement if they have a medicine ball and do 50 medicine ball slams if they love those. It could be hold a plank. It could be go for a really hard walk for 20 minutes and like find a way to make it a challenge also. This is kind of the competition aspect that you're super familiar with athletes, is I think human beings love challenges, right? We're very competitive. Some people say they're not competitive. They still are, but there's a unique way that it gets to them, but like finding little competitions to implement into those other days. So now said person, instead of saying, oh, I train 3 days a week and then I move things around, I train every day. This day happens to be my full hard session. This one is something fun or different, but I train every day. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. If you're I think everyone should have more than 30 seconds, but like if it has to be 30 seconds, it's better than nothing. You can do it every day and just be a person who does something for their body every day or does something for their mind or, fill in the blank. So I love that, you really talked about the everyday aspect.
I like that. Yeah. So the intent for the habit is there consistently day in, day out, but the habit itself is going to vary in the intensity or the type.
It varies on the person's individuality and it varies on the day-to-day timing, right? So just a quick example, if someone is interested in this, currently I have a challenge going on with myself, and then I had my girlfriend take it on, and one of my clients is doing it, the 3 of us. And all it is train every day for 30 minutes for 30 days. And the only parameter in that is something in that 30 minutes should be hard. like that painful, uncomfortable zone. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes of, all out sprinting. That's not even realistic, but it's not 30 minutes of just like going half-assed. It's maybe do a couple hard sets and then take a little bit of kind of walking time and then do a couple sprints, whatever it is. There should be something challenging, so it counts as a training session for that time as a minimum, because then it takes away the doubt in your mind of, oh, should I do this now? Should I not? My girlfriend last night, for example, worked like a double shift. She was working from, I think, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. all the way until 9 p.m. And she came home and normally would never, she would just go to sleep and train the next day. But because for this challenge, I gave her the out of saying, you don't have to go do a crazy session now. Your body and your mind is like fried. Just set the timer for 30 minutes, do something tough in there, and then move around the rest, because we're on a challenge. You don't want to break the streak. So she did like a couple side shuffles, got her heart rate up. It was a little bit tough. Then she walked, then she like held a wall plank, and it's a little more fun, but giving yourself that non-negotiable frequency really, really helps people build, I think, trust in themselves that they can stick to something, as long as you're understanding that you don't have to do the crazy thing every time, right? You can be flexible. So that's the way I approach a lot of stuff.
I like that. You're building the strength as the foundation for resiliency.
Hey, summaries. That was good. All right. I think this is a good time to get into some fun and to really just, hype you up, because that's what I'm really here to do. So first thing I would love to talk content on your website. And then I want to finish with the services that you're providing, because I think they're awesome. Cool. So content, what I noticed on the site is you have a couple of different types of blog, work. One is your Face the Facts and evidence-based nutrition blog. I like that a lot. What can you elaborate? Why should someone listening go right to the site now and start reading?
The purpose of my content that I try to put out there is educating on very complex topics in ways that hopefully are engaging and entertaining and inspiring. So if someone is interested in certain topics, especially with the Face the Facts blog, a lot of it is hot topics that are coming up that people are always asking me, oh, what do you think about this diet? What do you think about this type of training? And it takes current research, all of the current research findings, breaks it down into something that I believe is easily digestible for you. No pun intended. Oh, that was funny. It was like a nutrition joke. It's easily digested, something that you can take the information and you can find some way to relate it to you, and that you end up learning about this complex topic without having to really do that much more digging. Like, I basically did all the digging for you.
You have Gen Talks. So Gen Talks, what it looks like are, I believe there's just a few longer form articles, right?
Yeah. So my Gen Talks, this is a new venture that I'm starting, where it's an approach to education that I kind of formed over the years, where I'm taking my knowledge base and I'm finding a way to communicate it using my personality and my sense of humor, because I think that's the best way that people learn, when they feel emotionally attached to something, especially if it's a positive emotion. If you can make someone laugh about something stupid that you said, they're going to remember what you said versus just, listing off a whole bunch of bullet points. Like, you're not going to remember bullet points, but you're going to remember the way that I made you feel when I told you about something. So a lot of my education is in that kind of storytelling / almost like stand-up comedy a little bit. And so what's new for me is now putting it into writing. So there's only a few of my Gen Talks on the blog, on my website right now, but I'm hoping to expand that out so that it is not only a full blog with a bunch of articles, but also building it into different books. Like, the first book I want to write is going off of that sleep topic. And
okay, so the last thing on you, and then we can summarize a little bit. This is your chance. I want you to be super not humble and just plug whatever kind of services you're working on. I know you're consulting, you're doing a lot of things. Basically, sell someone on what you're doing, because I would love to hear.
Awesome. So what I'm doing right now as a performance and wellness coaching service. So like I said, I'm a dietitian, strength and conditioning specialist, and I have a background in psychology. So I bring it all together for performance and for wellness. And my population that I specifically work with are athletes, especially football athletes, where we are looking at your body and how your body performs. And we're working on you as a human being and how we can bring the two, make you successful now in your career, as well as your career after your sport, so that you are able to perform well in whatever situation, whatever challenges that come your way for life. So the services that I have is there's private consulting where it's one-on-one, individualized. We adapt the coaching day in, day out based on where you're at. There's group education and team talks. And this could be for a full team. It could be for a position group. It could be for a group of families of athletes. It could be a group of coaches, anyone that needs some type of education. If we can bring a like-minded group together and give some good, inspiring, engaging, educational content all at the same time, that's better for everyone. Now you have an accountability group too. And then the content creation, so that if you're maybe someone who's just a little more introverted, you don't necessarily want to jump right into working one-on-one with someone, you can still gain education about yourself and how to take care of yourself through different educational content that I create. And then hopefully we can build a relationship together so that I can continue to help you day in, day out on what you're not able to help yourself. So different avenues, because I understand that human beings are all completely different and everyone's going to learn in a different way. Everyone needs something that is unique to them day in, day out. So trying to spread myself in a way that I can help anyone regardless of their situation and really help them to build that relationship with themselves so that they can see long-term success all throughout life.
I'm curious, the content creation aspect of your business, because I think I had a different idea of what you meant by it. Does this mean you will get to know a person and create specific content for them to help them? Or does it?
That's going to be a goal of mine, that if someone is looking for some type of material, maybe it's a coach who wants some type of educational material for their team. Or maybe it's someone who specifically is working on their own fitness journey and they need something that is specific to them, but that's given in a way that it is engaging and entertaining, that it speaks to them personally. So it is going to be something that is hopefully adaptable and completely original to whoever it is that needs it. So yeah, basically what you said.
I think that's all I have as far as, deeper questions, but is there anything you want to summarize with, questions for me or for my audience or yours? Because I'm sure you'll be, sending this around to some people that you think will like to listen. So if you want to challenge anybody to think about something, to do something, we could chat about that for a little bit and then call it a day.
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess the big challenge that I would want really everyone to ask themselves is, how confident are you today in being able to identify yourself, take care of yourself? If you can identify your own thoughts and emotions, identify what your body needs today, how confident do you feel in your ability to carry that out? If you feel lost with your thoughts are racing, you feel a lot of fear or anxiety or worry about things, if you don't even know where to start with taking care of yourself, then there's something that we can do. There's some way that I can help you. So I would challenge you to really ask yourself, how well do I know myself inside and out?
A very worthwhile challenge for people to consider, and just to see how much they trust themselves, how much they know themselves, because if that is in place, everything onward in whatever way you want to take it is going to be easier. It's going to be more effective. It's going to be more fulfilling, right? It starts with trusting yourself, knowing yourself, just as you said. So thank you so much, Jen. It was awesome. I would love to have you back sometime. We can just go into more topics. I think this was really fun. All right, Jen, thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey again, it's Harris. One more thing before you go. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode with me and Jen. I really appreciate it. I know she does as well. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed having a conversation as we did. If you enjoyed anything in the episode, any of the talking points, the content we referenced, once again, go to my website. It's linked below wherever you're listening to this, coachedbyharris.com. That's coachedbyharris.com. Brand new website. There's an individual page just for this episode with Jen. All right. It's going to have the audio, the video, some bio about Jen, links to her website, links to all the stuff we talked about. If you want to work with Jen, that is the place to do it, or go to her site directly, jenhatz.com. I'm honestly excited for the day that I get somebody who is a football player looking for nutrition and mental training to come to me, because I want to send them right over to Jen. That's her specialty. She's amazing at what she does, and I can't wait for her to build the work that she's doing. So if you see all of that, if you enjoy, I would love it if you could reach out to me and or Jen and just say hello. Tell us that you listened to the episode. It would mean a lot because we had a great time making it for you. All right. Once again, my website, Jen's website, has a lot of information. Check it out. If you need anything, let us know, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.